How's everybody doing today? Welcome. Thanks so much for taking time out to sit with us. We have a really great conversation to share with you all. I'm Ann Mazinga. I'm one of the co-founders of OmniTalk Retail. We are a media platform for retailers and brands by retailers, and our goal is really to kind of talk about the latest trends, technology, people, and processes in the retail industry. So check us out at omnitalk.blog. Let's get introductions started here. Cedric, I'm going to start with you. Tell the audience a little bit about you and your role at Walmart.
Yeah, so Cedric Clark, I get the fortune of supporting operations in Walmart US. I get to support 1.2 million associates, just a little business. And, you know, not just in the field, but in home office as well. And I see some of our amazing team here, which is exciting. And then I had a fanboy moment. I got the opportunity to be on your guys' OmniTalk podcast. So I'm like a bit pumped. So thank you for that opportunity. And then to be up here with Philippe is amazing. So. And
you didn't just walk into this role as EVP. I learned this morning that you started as an associate.
Yeah, 22 years ago. Started in
what?
Fishing licenses and sporting goods. And I screwed up a few, by the way. I sold a saltwater to a freshwater person. So I got cussed out early in my career. I've recovered, but yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, you're doing great things in this position today, thankfully. Philippe, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and Vusion Group to the audience.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. And thanks for Cedric to be with us. So I've been with Vusion Group for 15 years. You know, we do IoT and digital data services for in-store to improve in-store experiences for customers, associates, and we've been lucky enough to you know, work with Walmart for a few years, and so we're happy to be here today to talk about some of the partnerships, some of the work we're doing today with them. And so thanks, Cedric, for making some time today to be with us.
Well, let's get started with that. Cedric, I'd love for you to kind of go through and share with the audience a little bit about how Walmart is looking at DSLs. Kind of what that's like in the stores right now. If I was to walk into one of the Walmart stores that's piloting.
Yeah, so, you know, earlier I mentioned started in the stores, you know, selling fishing licenses. What's really crazy about that 22 years ago, it was a pretty simple business. Customer had money, we had product, and they had to come in the store to make the trade, right?
Sure.
And so if I thought of what's happening today, it's multiple capability, but let me make sense of that. The framing is you can still come in the store to get the products you need and make a trade with us, but we're also putting product in people's trunks. We'll deliver it to your home. If you'd let us, we'd put it in your refrigerator, pantry, or even your garage. So a lot's changed on that journey. So when I think about that, though, and kind of the framing of what this conversation is, we have to begin to leverage technology and innovation. But when you think about that, you have to have a North Star. And our North Star has always been, when our founder talked about this in 1992, when he actually got the Medal of Freedom from George Bush, our goal was to help people in America save money so they can live a better life. And so that's really what it is, save money and live better. But the how is being people-led, and then you power the people by having technology, and then you use systems to frame this to become omni, so you can do it physically in the store or on your app. And that's going to be the framing of how we make the investment actually pay to put the associate in the best place to support the team. So for me, not to simplify it, you save people time and money, they're going to continue to go and do and involve with that retailer or that business that does that. And if they do that, they'll continue to repeat that. And so I'll tell you, a lot's changed since I started 22 years ago, but it's a great day to be a Walmart associate.
And tell us a little bit, I love the phrase, you've heard from a lot of Walmart associates that we've had the opportunity to talk to at NRF, people-led, tech-powered. So I specifically want to talk about like DSLs now. How does that play into this, and how are you able to empower your associates to do more things now that you've deployed this technology?
Well, think about that arduous task. Is there anyone in this room that's done a price change? Could you raise your hand if you've ever worked in, like, look, I'm seeing the nods, like, I'm with you. That nod was not one that, like, I love doing that. And so when I think about this journey of going to digital shelf labels, you used to have to go scan the label on the shelf, get the little list that prints in the back, go get the perforated sheet, and hopefully you put the color sheet in the printer, because if you didn't bring the color sheet, you're gonna do it again. And then we gotta take it out, slide it in the actual little, not rail, I wouldn't call it that, but our little framing of what that looks like, and I get paper cuts doing. And so DSLs, the day you actually implement that, in your stores. If we're in over 400 plus stores, your life changes. And you think about taking a tedious task. The goal is to take that time and allow the associate to be empowered to engage with the customer, to delight the customer's experience and make the sentiment, like this gentleman over here that made that nod that said, hey, I've done that before.
Yeah.
His feeling of coming into work and it feeling good and knowing the company's investing technology to better their experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep working there.
Well, and we're showing a little bit of the video here of the DSLs in one of the Walmart stores and associates interacting with them. I think the other thing that is important and that you've mentioned too, Cedric, is just how quickly, if you're a seasonal employee or you're just starting your journey as a Walmart associate, you're able to kind of do your job because of this.
Yeah, and you can see lights are beeping there, and part of this journey is leveraging not just the simplicity of the price, but what could we do with it to actually enhance experiences that will increase our accuracy of availability, which is exactly what the customers want, whether it's in the store physically or it's on their operating system in their phone to be able to make this transaction with us.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Well, Philippe, I'd love for you to share a little bit about, what you're seeing with some of the other retailers that you work with. Obviously, Cedric's giving us the Walmart case study, but what are you able to do at Shelf Edge now that retailers couldn't do before?
Yep. Well, Cedric talked about, the most obvious use case, which is the one everybody knows about, which is pricing automation, which is already solving a huge pain point for associates and stores. There are a few additional use cases which are super interesting. So Walmart is also doing what we call pick to light and stock to light to enable faster replenishment in stores and to enable the faster also fulfillment of online orders. And I think associates absolutely love that because it's a great visual indicator to help people, do their job much faster and much more efficiently in stores. So these are the fundamental problems that we've engaged in solving with Walmart for so far until now. But when we look at what other retailers are doing, there are a few additional things that are really interesting. So we also have clients looking at using the light capability in order to guide shoppers. So it's a shopper engagement feature in order to be able to do guided shopping. We also have, a lot of clients looking at computer vision technologies in order to solve for inventory management, looking at what's on the shelf, on-shelf availability, top stock monitoring, backroom monitoring, could be also produce monitoring. So those are also very active use cases that some of our other clients are looking at.
And Philippe, break it down for some of us in the audience who might not be familiar with kind of how they go in and what they do. Like maybe just give an overview quickly of what we saw in that video of the Walmart stores. How do they work specifically?
Yep. So what you see, what you see on the screen is the actual technology and product itself. So you have most of you are probably familiar with ESLs, which are the individual labels. What we're doing with Walmart is the next generation of ESLs, and so our marketing went all in and changed one letter. We went from ESL to DSL. And it might sound like it's a small change, but it's actually a very big change because we approached this new technology, this new platform is really built around product locationing, planogram at the core. And that rail enables, the really product locationing and planogram in addition to doing the pricing itself. We ended up, mutualizing a lot of components of our platform as well within that. So we have BLE technology built in, which allows for shopper connectivity. That was also a fundamental, change in the architecture and in the solution that we developed in order to be able to connect with shopper at the shelf.
Yeah.
Well, Cedric, I love to hear that you're testing these.
Yep.
It's always great. We love a good pilot, especially at AmiTalk. We'd love to talk about it. But I'd really like to hear the reality of what this is looking like in the stores. Can you share with the audience, you're expanding the rollout of DSLs to more Walmart stores. Yeah. What does that mean for what store associate training looks like. How's the rollout going? Like, share with the audience what's really happening now that you've started to deploy
And
these.
so we're already in, 400 plus of our stores, and we have a plan, Philippe, which is awesome, to get to half of our fleet soon. Which, you think about having 584 stores, that's probably larger than any other retailer when you think of how many stores they have. So that's really exciting. But let me dive into this. I have a term called feel good versus real good. The feel good is you see it and you're like, oh my goodness, like this seems like it can be really good. But the real good is when I think of the first quarter this year, we had over 7,000 rollbacks. That's where we take our price down to position the customer in the best place to shop coming to us in just food. And so when I told you about the Garvey gun, I didn't even mention the Telzon that had the antenna. That's what I was using back in the day. I mean, that's taking us back.
You're giving people nightmares.
No, and I know. I keep looking at my man right here. I'm gonna have to get your name before we're over, but me and him like hit it off. It's like that experience for me, it took a lot of work. And I'm being honest, like I'm excited about my 22 plus years in retail, but I didn't become proficient quickly. So now, today, the framing of using 7,000 price changes in food, right, from a rollback perspective, could you imagine just pulling out your phone and about 2 clicks in, when it's time to actually change those prices to what us as a company frame for what we want to deliver to the customer, just hit that button and it's done. That's great. But then we're not done there. You talked about some retailers are using it for the customer side, but part of Walmart, it's a pretty big store. If you've ever shopped in a Walmart store, the day you start, it's like, what is this? And I think back when I was in the state of Washington, we didn't know what Walmart was then. So as they were coming in, it was new to retail. We had Costco's and all this. So I'm thinking of when I started there, if I at least had a scenario where if my job was to go pick for a customer and get their order perfect and do their order efficiently, if I could actually show up to the aisle and the aisle knows the proximity of me with the device, and I can hit a button and it begins to light up, as you can see on this right here, the LED, and it tells me when I'm looking for spices, cinnamon.
Yep.
You guys know it's pretty hard. The framing for that is it creates the associate to have a great experience. And you remember that day, because if you set me up on day 2 to have a proficient experience in that, it's more likely that I come back. And that's for me, when you say what's happening at Walmart, we're creating this opportunity to have our associates be positioned to know we're simplistically looking at their business, making investments that are smart, and then allowing them to actually do what they really like to do, which is spend time with the customers. And at Walmart, what's really cool too that we do is merchandise. When you show up, you know what time of year it is, and you don't really, it's a tug of war with that when you have these arduous tasks and tedious tasks that I started with, that now it's an honor for me 22 years later to be able to give an associate experience that I would have dreamed about and probably couldn't dream about because I couldn't think of a company like yours doing something with this best-in-class rail technology.
And Cedric, maybe for the audience, just clarify, like, there's a lot of technology that Philippe mentioned that are possible with the rails, but what is Walmart using of the available technology now, and kind of where do you see that evolving?
Yeah, the cool part is it's foundationally set up. And one of the things I want to say is, for us, what's really a game changer is when you think of the rail technology too, it's battery powered. And so what happens is there's a power source that goes to it, but it's charged. So you guys know you can have a power outage. I spent some time in Texas, and they're on their own grid. And if it just goes off, what would happen if all the prices ended up? We're gonna have at the front checkout someone saying, "Hey, I thought that TV, was $1." No, it's not that framing. The framework is we actually feel like we don't have one point of failure. The other component that I'll share with you is just creating that associate, and soon, when you think about the customer's lens of that, to be able to see what they want, and then this price transparency that you can create trust with the customer. They're going to keep coming back because that's really table stakes for us.
Well, Philippe, big rollout with Walmart that Cedric just mentioned. Let's talk about what the rollout process looks like. So when you're going into one of your retail partners, Walmart or another partner, what should they be prepared for? What's critical to kind of the success of the rollout to get to the point where Cedric's talking about that they've seen at Walmart?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with really figuring out the use cases. What are the problems we're trying to solve? And we need to spend a lot of time on this to make sure we really understand the core and fundamental issues we're trying to resolve for the stores. and how we want to solve them. So that's the step one of the journey. And then once and we did that a few years ago, and it was actually a fascinating moment in time, because when we discovered, we always hear that Walmart's big. Walmart is the Fortune 1 company in the world, but the scale of Walmart is really impressive. And so as soon as you start talking about the use cases, you're also figuring out that there's a scalability topic, which makes working with you guys really a lot of fun, because it's a bit of a unique experience. And so we do that. We go through the rollout plan.
Yeah.
We listen to what your associates a lot. You go in the first pilot stores, you learn, you iterate, you make changes, and you improve the product, you improve the process to make sure that you really make the store execution perfect, because that's what we're going after. We're trying to automate tasks that are currently made by associates in store, and so we want to make sure that once we do that, the store is absolutely executing perfectly, the data is super accurate, and the execution is flawless.
Well, Philippe, the other thing too that I think is important to call out, so Walmart's kind of using these foundationally right now, but we've seen in other stores, I think of Kavanaugh's in London, some of the other stores that you've rolled out in, you're able to build on this technology, and I think that's important with all technology, really. Like, you can't just one and done evaluate something and say, can't do it, too expensive, it's not right. Now, I think it's worth, especially with the Walmart announcement, it's worth people looking at what can you do now beyond just pricing with these shelf labels. So maybe if you can share a little bit about like the computer vision components with Captana, or some of the other things that you're now able to do that may help like justify that now is the time for DSLs.
Yeah. Well, the rail technology that we developed is actually a platform. That's how you need to think about it. A platform which is able to deliver plenty of different use cases. So the pricing is one that we just talked about, but you mentioned some of the other things we do, such as computer vision. We can also plug cameras on the rails directly and be able to monitor inventories in real time in stores and provide super accurate data about the levels of inventory, the on-shelf availability. Are we in compliance with the planogram? Do we have the right products at the right place? And so our tech is really modular and enables all these additional use cases to be deployed in time. So you start somewhere in the journey. Yeah. Like Walmart did with the pricing and picking use cases, and then you can expand into many other places.
Well, and Philippe, Cedric, actually, I'm going to ask this question of you first. How did that play into kind of the decision that Walmart made to invest in this technology? Because I think that's something that we really need to dive into here, is like, there's one thing of bringing the proof of concept and saying, I think this could help save our associates time, it could save us money. How did you get the green light from the executive leadership to kind of roll this out? What did it take?
Well, a few things that I want to bridge on what you said, Philippe. First off, it's you got to choose the right partner. I think that's important. So when you think of how our company was founded, Sam Walton was he was a merchant. He wanted to have this opportunity to put something in a store that would delight someone where they can come in. And so the evolution, and actually learned this morning, you think about the founder of the Vusion group, part of it is you probably might be one of the only ones that were founded as a retailer.
Exactly.
So for us, you think of Sam Walton, you think of the Vusion group, kind of the foundation of that. I think that's important because then what you're solutioning is the experience for the customer. And that's what's always kept us centered at what we're doing. If I take it in like the reality of what we're doing within Walmart on how does this continue to power what we're doing, you know what? The framing of the businesses are changing. We're doing a lot more digital business, whether it's on the app or whether it's the customer actually trusting us to do things within our store for them. We have to make sure we give the associates time to be able to do what's most important, which is, as we frame the business, it's going to be service. And so having, a company like yours, Vusion Group, to where we're now, again, like we're going to be in half of our stores very soon with this technology. The associates that are going to be able to have that experience, their lives literally will change from a work perspective that day. So we're just excited about the partnership, and then that foundational support of both founders, bridging the start of it to being obsessed about customers. I think that creates a synergy.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cedric, any other details you'd like to? I love a case study. Can you tell? I keep asking you. But
Yeah.
like, what? Let's go to the numbers.
Got
Like,
it.
what's actually happening? What's changing in the day to day for your associates because of this implementation?
Yeah, and so what's really exciting about this engagement is up, which is awesome. NPS with our customers is up. Also, from a standpoint of NPS with the customer, the trust that's built with seeing how the clarity of what we're doing, and then the productivity gains that we're seeing within the stores are important when you think of what the associates, when we get to the light functions, pick to light, stock to light, all of these things that can frame that. So that's really important. But it all, to me, bridges back to what we do as an organization. We're people led. And if we do that, the decisions that we make in order to enable people with the technology, that's where I feel like our associates are building trust with our organization and the choices, Nico, that we're making out there to make it the best place to shop and work. So it's good. We won't go into details of what those numbers look like, but as we get into more, over half of our stores soon, it'll be very apparent. And then I'm very confident with the leadership teams that we have. We're leveraging that to actually put ourselves in positions on wherever the business is going. How can we have the associates there supporting the customers?
Well, this is a little bit of a fuzzy metric, but I do think it's important, especially when we talk about the turnover that we're having in retail right now. How much have you seen, just anecdotally even, does this impact just the ability for people to feel like they accomplished something?
Yeah, and we've seen it from day one. What I mentioned to you all, someone showing up. What's really exciting is you can actually look at your under 90 days associates that have just come in the box, and some of the associates that have been around a while. We look at the balance of both, and you can see where sentiment positively are on the uptick on both of those. And for me, when that happens, that means we're in the right department in how we're handling this, and we got to keep going forward. And then what we do, which is a core part of our operating system, is then you got to go back in there and listen. So once we get DSLs, when you think about being at half our stores, what else are the things that will position them? And that's what we can't do. And that's a cultural norm at Walmart, which is, why I love doing what I do, because as I get out into the 4,500 plus stores, I get the opportunity to talk to those that are doing the work. And you know what? They're transparent. And then what's really good about you? You're agile enough to make adjustments as it relates to what we need to position them to be the best place to work and shop.
Yeah.
Well, it's not exactly a KPI, but what I like.
No, it's definitely not.
But what I like, every time I go in a store that has been installed with DSLs, there's a big smile on people's faces, and that's really a sign that we're on the right path.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
We're doing the right thing for retail and for associates. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philippe, when I remember one of the first stores that you rolled out with, I mentioned Kavanaugh's in London. I interviewed the store manager of that store, and he told me, he said, and this used to take just the price changes alone, like nothing else. They have Captana, they have all of the full Vusion Group capabilities rolled out. He said, this used to take my team 3 associates, 3 days to do price changes just for the week, and that rinse and repeat every single week. Yeah. And now it takes 1 associate 2 to 3 hours to do all the price changes in the store, to check to make sure that inventory is accurate. And I think that's really a testament to, the growing capabilities of this technology that are worth retailers out there taking a look at again. Any other anecdotes from other retailers that you've worked with who are seeing enhanced associate experiences or changes to their day-to-day that you'd share?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about pricing, picking, inventory management solutions. I think there's another big trend that is coming to the store. It's really it's related to retail media. A lot of the retail media component today is very manually handled in the stores. There is a gigantic opportunity to digitize this experience.
Yeah.
And just like we've been on a journey to digitize some of the store processes related to pricing and fulfillment. Now we're on a journey also to digitize some of the retail media networks in the stores, because we deploy a lot of screens, obviously, and so we have the capability with all the technology we embed to be able to get us to that next phase of growth. That's an interesting trend.
Well, one of the other things too, as we kind of start to wrap up the conversation, I want to talk about where this technology is going, because I also think that's an important thing. And not just this technology in particular, but I'll also ask you, Cedric, too, kind of about where you think Walmart will be placing their bets in terms of technology. But first, Philippe, one of the things that I saw out at CES this week was powerfoil technology. And I think a big concern with digitizing any experience, Cedric, you mentioned it, what happens if the power goes out? What happens with low light conditions, or all the things that are needed to make this technology function in store? Philippe, talk a little bit about the addition of the powerfoil strips, the removal of batteries for these ESLs or DSLs to be powered throughout a store, and what you think that will bring to kind of the future of this technology.
Yep. Well, from a technology perspective, there are a few very interesting work streams going on. So battery removal is an important milestone also from a sustainability perspective, because we want to, those devices that we deploy, they have about 5, 6, 7 years battery life.
Yeah.
And so after so many years, you have to go back and refresh. So when we look at solar technology, we're able to provide like much longer battery lives. And so it simplifies the overall maintenance of the solution. From a display technology, we have plenty of amazing technologies that are coming up that are going to be supporting the retail media business, because we have a full color e-paper technology which is coming up. So that's a very exciting technology evolution. And from a connectivity perspective, I touched on it briefly earlier, but we spent years developing a new Bluetooth-based protocol with the intent to be able to talk to shoppers, right?
Okay.
And so the evolution of this radio technology is to be able to interact with devices in the stores, to be able to deliver potentially personalized offers in stores is also a big technology shift that's coming.
Makes sense. An investment in enhancing retail media makes sense given our current retail landscape. Yep. Cedric, what do you think is ahead? What are you looking at? What's important to you as you continue to improve the lives of your associates?
Yeah, and I'll make it broad. I mean, the framing for anyone in any organization, in my opinion, is you invest in technology. You have to make sure when you take capital to enhance your assets, it has to be simplifying arduous tasks that keep your associates away from what they should be doing, which is servicing the customer. And so, for me, like just 3 takeaways in my mind, that I would want to leave this group with is like, how do you look at your business and improving your associates' satisfaction and your customers' satisfaction around speed, productivity, and sentiment? And so those 3 framings really fuel this associate and customer improvement. Then number 2 is choosing the right partner. I talked about kind of the founder framework for even our 2 organizations, because I think when you're doing partnerships with companies, the culture of that organization is just as important as a culture within your organization. So choosing the right partner is important. And you can hear where you're saying, even with what we're doing, you set an infrastructure that can continue to enhance. And I think the last thing I'd leave you with, you got to have a North Star. And our North Star is that we're people-led, tech-powered, omni-channel retailer that help people save money so they can live better. And so when I think of my job in supporting the 1.2 million associates, if I can make sure I have that at the center of any decisions that I make, then it'll be the best place to shop and work. And then Walmart is that place. And so, for me, I'm super excited about the partnership, Philippe, that we're going on and the journey we're going on. And I'm grateful for what you're doing too. And when you think of OmniTalk, really getting leaders access broader than what maybe they would be able to do themselves in doing research. So that's important. And then, I would love to, if you're a Walmart associate, could you raise your hand or stand up? Because we have some of our team. If y'all could stand up and let the teams know. Which I want to make sure. When I think of the job I get the fortune to do every day, part of that's stewarding the hearts and minds of our teams. Walmart's mission is amazing, but the purpose comes to life with being people-led. And so that's what's really exciting for me, is like to take what you all are doing in Vusion Group, and I have smiles in the store. You might not be able to measure it. Someday we will be able to.
I have no doubt.
But that smile correlates into engagement, and that engagement correlates into the people coming in, that's shopping with us, saying, if they like it, I should, which I think gets us a better opportunity for them to do it over and over again. So super grateful to our teams and grateful for the partnership that you're creating with us as well, Philippe.
Excellent. Well, Philippe, if people want to stop by, they want to talk to you more, they want to dive deep into what Vusion Group technology can do for them, what's the best place for them to get in touch
Well,
with
you guys only have a few hours left, so hurry to booth 4938. See you there. Thanks a lot, Cedric.
Yep.
We love
Thank
the
you, man.
partnership too.
Perfect.
Appreciate you.
Thanks so much,
Thank you,
everybody,
Ann.
for joining us.